she would help hundreds of refugees and be known as the little mother of a nation. An Armenian woman living in Japan, Diana Agabeg Apcar had never laid eyes on her homeland. But events taking place there, halfway around the world, would transform her life and purpose. Under the cover of World War I, the Ottoman Turks launched a genocide against the Armenian people. Their homeland stolen, 1.5 million Armenians died. Very few escaped, and those who did were desperate for help. Championing the cause of her countrymen, Diana Apcar was among the first women to take on a modern diplomatic role.
Diana was ahead of her time. Her main concern was to find some refuge for these people, and she did this single-handedly.
She tried to do her utmost for a cause in which she believed, that is, the survival of the Armenians, the survival of the Armenian state.
She was a great humanitarian.
She was a woman in a man's world, and she was making things happen.
We tend to forget the power of the individual. The power of the individual is a remarkable phenomenon.
Diana Agabeg was the youngest of 7 children. Her parents were Armenian immigrants from Iran. Diana attended convent school in Calcutta. Growing up speaking English, she sought out Armenian lessons as a teen. She loved reading and writing and wrote her first novel as a young woman. Diana met Armenian businessman Michael Apcar. She was almost 30 when they finally married. They honeymooned in Japan. A year later, Diana, Michael, and their daughter Rose moved from India to Japan, where Michael established his import-export business.
Foreign trade was just starting up, in the 1880s, and there was a lot of demand. I will say the business was very profitable and prosperous.
Diana and Michael had 5 children. 2 of their 3 sons died. Diana's stoicism intensified when her husband Michael died suddenly while on a business trip. In April 1909, Armenian Christians were massacred by Ottoman Muslims in the city of Adana. This expanded into a series of anti-Armenian pogroms throughout the province.
In the immediate aftermath of the Adana massacres in 1909, Diana Apcar prepared a pamphlet to be distributed in the United States that told the story of the horrors of the massacres in Adana and the nearby provinces.
Diana wrote feverishly that year, publishing 2 books in 1910, The Truth About the Armenian Massacres and Betrayed Armenia. Diana had always followed world events, but Adana was a turning point for her.
The Armenians may be led again as sheep to the slaughter, and the work of extermination may be completed.
She couldn't tolerate the injustice of bigger countries towards smaller countries. It was this understanding of the situation that motivated her to try to protect Armenia with her pen by convincing the world of her country's situation.
Every nation has a right to its own separate existence. Every nation has an inalienable right to that country which is its own inheritance.
The Armenians, they were stateless. They had no one really to protect their interests.
We were told in the polite language of diplomacy that the equilibrium of Europe and the peace of Europe required that Armenia should remain under Turkish domination.
So the Ottoman Empire went from a place where the Armenians were part of the warp and weft of culture and society and economics to a place where they became a feared and hated minority over the course of about a century.
As her writings traveled the globe, Diana received considerable praise for her work.
Other women just simply didn't do these sort of things, and surprisingly enough, all of the people that she was involved with, the diplomats, the university academics, they all respected her very much.
As to how many letters she has written, God knows, because apparently she has been writing letters right and left to all kinds of people, from missionaries to ministers to politicians to presidents to kings, humanitarian institutions, Red Cross, plain individuals whom she thought could be of some assistance.
Diana's urgent correspondence continued as international tensions snowballed, and the drumbeat to war grew louder.
Armenians are being dispossessed of their homes and lands. The Turkish government is at present preparing another Armenian massacre. His Excellency Mr. Kosai, dear Sir, my dear Mr. Edmonds, dear Professor Munsterberg, Baroness von Sutter, dear Monsieur Gollet, dear Dr. Gobat, dear Sirs, Mr. J.R. Geary, dear Sir, I am asking a special favour for these poor Armenians. Yours very gratefully, yours sincerely and gratefully, Diana Agabeg Apcar. I have had a nervous breakdown and could not write after that. I hope to begin my work again after a little rest. Anyhow, all my losses go into God's treasury. Let only Armenia be delivered from the Turkish hell.
World War I would become the deadliest conflict the world had seen.
Under the cover of war, the young Turks could contemplate final solutions. During peacetime, they would have faced too much outside pressure, but during wartime, other options were available to them.
When the Turkish authorities gave the orders for these deportations, they were merely giving the death warrant to a whole race. They understood this well. As news of the genocide spread, Diana's long-held anxieties for her fellow Armenians were realized. Her determination to help them only increased.
Our poor people are driven out of their homes without food and clothing into the Arabian-Syrian deserts, a march of months. They must march and march. Sick, aged children, women are falling on the roadsides and dying.
As an Armenian, in every almost family we have stories about genocide and about what we called it pach, which means run away or run kind of thing.
Those who could escape went in all directions, south through the desert to Syria, and eventually to modern-day Lebanon. Some made it to Europe, while others went north into Russian territory, and then east, the beginning of a journey that would take them all the way to the Pacific. And in Japan, Diana Apcar's work was about to take a new direction. The Japanese officials didn't know what to make of the first Armenian refugees to arrive on their shores.
All these people came with their horror stories of what they had gone through, how much they have lost, and of course they had nowhere to go, no hope, no chance of picking up the pieces of their life.
I do know that you have to have papers to be able to travel. None of these people had passports. You have to have papers, and she had to do all of that paperwork.
Further complicating things, many passenger ships were overbooked or had been called to wartime service. Days turned to weeks, and many Armenian refugees would spend months in Japan before being able to cross the Pacific.
She rented houses around her own house to provide shelter to these people, find them jobs, to make ends meet.
You don't do it for glory, you don't do it to get into heaven per se, you just do it because it's the right thing to do. And your job is to do good works.
While the bulk of the Armenian genocide took place in 1915 in Anatolia, the violence continued in waves over many years.
I think my grandfather, Anushavan, decided that they needed to move quickly and that the best and safest route would be across the railway through Russia rather than to try to brave going through the Western Front.
Russia was consumed by its own revolution. After overthrowing the Tsar and beginning to consolidate their power, the Red and White armies raged in battles in the streets. All through the turmoil of the revolution, the great iron way that traverses Russia from Vladivostok to Petrograd, 6,000 miles, was kept going.
We too, including refugees from all parts of the world, got into wagons. Those railroad cars were like houses. The only discomfort we suffered was our tea, which kept spilling over us. It took us 6 months to travel this way. And like an endless caravan, we were meandering our way towards Siberia.
For refugees traveling east by train, the end of the road was the Russian city of Vladivostok. In July 1917, the American Red Cross opened its branch there to help the thousands of refugees fleeing the fighting and violence of World War I. Here, Armenians found company among Russians and numerous other refugees from neighboring states. Diana worked diligently to find sponsors in America, identification documents, and ship passage for the Armenians stranded at Vladivostok.
Excellent, sir. I am appealing to you on behalf of those of my nationals who arrive here via Siberia with the intention and purpose of proceeding to the United States.
Here, Diana drew on her experience as a businesswoman to raise money for the refugees' expenses. And using her understanding of the Japanese government, Diana convinced officials to grant the refugees temporary asylum on their way to America.
I pray that Your Excellency will be graciously pleased to instruct the Japanese Consul General at Vladivostok to give them and their families permission to come to Japan. I hereby guarantee that if Liparit Hambrazumian and his wife Elizabeth need pecuniary assistance, or if the Japanese authorities consider that they so need, I will assist them. I will be their surety. Their expenses will be incurred by me. A very difficult trouble is to find passage on these ships from March till October. The ships are full and the shipping companies quite independent. The US government has ordained very strict regulations against alien immigration. The recent fire in Yokohama has been a trouble because Miuraya's hotel was burnt down, and I have had a hard time searching for accommodation for the refugees. There are now about 60 or more Armenian refugees on the premises we were able to rent, besides 5 Assyrians, and also I took in 3 Greeks. So there is no room for the second Armenian party.
We learned about the love and attention you have shown toward your unfortunate compatriots, and of how you facilitate their stay in that distant land. I appreciate you and wish God to strengthen you in your activities, with love and consolation for our sisters and brothers of our multi-tortured nation.
The little mother of a nation, that was her nickname given by many Armenian refugees who came down.
The refugees had come thousands of miles. Those who had passports bore the evidence of the long and dangerous journey, which had yet to reach its conclusion. If they could make it to Japan, there was help.
Diana Apcar helped refugees with logistics, food, place to stay.
In small groups or families traveling together, refugees set sail on one more journey, a new life in a new country. They wouldn't forget what they'd been through. They'd been forever changed by it. Meanwhile, events transpiring a continent away gave Diana new hope for Armenians and Armenia. A tiny new nation, the First Republic of Armenia, declared independence on May 28, 1918. The First Republic of Armenia was impoverished and weak and at war with the Ottoman Empire. It stood alone, occupied by Ottoman troops and overrun by tens of thousands of refugees who had escaped the genocide. It was just a matter of time before this tenuous state dissolved.
By 1918, Ottoman Turkey had lost World War I, and pretty much there was a common sentiment on the European part that there should be restitution for the Armenians for having suffered through a genocide.
On November 11, 1918, Germany signed an armistice, and the Great War was over. Peace negotiations began in Versailles, but only the winning powers participated. Great Britain, France, Italy, and the United States would reshape the world, including the fate of Armenia.
She argues that the Armenians have fought against the Germans and the Ottomans and deserve the attention, the assistance of the West.
A free Armenia. I am at last seeing the realization of my hopes, and I think I can say that the whole Armenian nation has received this news with great joy and thankfulness. At last, Armenians can live on the soil of Armenia and enter into their own heritage.
The newspapers actually had it wrong. Diana was not the world's first female diplomat. Nonetheless, for years prior to her appointment, Diana Apcar's work was that of a de facto ambassador, saving the lives of her fellow Armenians. The impact of that work was finally being recognized.
Armenians in Armenia knew about Diana. So when the republic was established and then independence came to Armenia, the letters that were sent to her said, "We are aware of your humanitarian activities and we would like you to represent us in Japan." And these were from Prime Minister Hamo Hanjanyan of the Republic of Armenia. And of course she accepted.
Her appointment as Consul General was very short, actually, not very long. But what she was doing well before she was officially appointed, actually she was appointed because of her work.
Armenia's future was debated for 2 years. The Allied powers had envisioned Armenia as an American protectorate. But in the end, the U.S. Senate voted against the mandate, and Diana's dream of an Armenian homeland was dead.
No one could imagine that the Soviet or Bolshevik takeover would take place. The Republic would fall in 1920, and everything would be lost. After the collapse of the Republic and Sovietization of the Republic, she continued her humanitarian work, of course not on a diplomatic level, but as a service to her people until she managed to help as many refugees as she could to move to the United States.
This wonderful woman used to work miracles, helping poor strangers in difficult situations, especially when women and children were involved. She was a woman of faith and prayer, and a woman of positive action. She spent all her worldly possessions on the poor.
She's like a fable. Diana Apcar helped my great-grandfather, Krikor.
She was already acting as a true ambassador. Her entire work, entire life actually, before her appointment and after her appointment, was a true diplomat and a true humanitarian.
There is a lot we don't know about Diana. The extent of her contribution to the Armenian people is not fully known and appreciated.